Has the Hamilton market bottomed out and it's starting to reverse? Is it crashing? Or is it just simply changing? I'm sure you've heard all three. The truth is it's much more nuanced, and the details are much more important to you, especially if you're buying or selling in the near future in the fall of 2025 or moving into 2026. My name is Morgan Little. I'm a realtor here in Hamilton with the Golfi team. I make this video every month to help you make smart, informed real estate decisions. The entire presentation that I'm about to go through will also be downloadable at a link below. So feel free to download that and follow along. Now let's get into it. All right, now let's jump into your Hamilton real estate market update for the month of July 2025. Now that we are in August, nearing the end of summer, let's take a look at these numbers and then we'll talk about what it means moving into the fall. Again, my name is Morgan Little. If I can ever be of any help, feel free to reach out. There's a link below where you can book a call or simply shoot me a text, and I'm happy to have a chat. Okay, the market at a glance, and this is the overall Hamilton and Burlington region. We'll take a look at those numbers. Then we'll get into the city of Hamilton itself and specific neighborhoods as well. So there were 886 sales across the whole region, which is up 5.5% year over year, which is noteworthy because we've seen declining sales month over month for a long time. So the fact that we're seeing more sales this July than we did last July says something. Have we neared the bottom? We'll have to wait and see, but it is something worth noting. There are 3,912 active listings, which is up 18% more inventory than the same time last year, which isn't surprising. We've seen lower home sales, like I mentioned, plus increased inventory month over month. So the fact that it's up almost 20%, that's not surprising, but it is good news for buyers. If you are a buyer in the market, there's lots of opportunity, lots of options. You can take your time. How long that will last remains to be seen. So if you have been on the fence, could be a good time, but that's up to you. Everyone's situation is different. Days on market, almost 40. So that's a fair amount compared to what we're used to. Up almost 30% from the same time last year. So that's a pretty big number, but coincides with the amount of listings that are on the market as well. And you have an average price, again, this is across the whole Hamilton and Burlington region, of $842,000 basically, down actually 2%. So that number's down a little bit. Now let's get into the city of Hamilton, like I mentioned, specifically because those broad numbers across the Hamilton Burlington region can really kind of be skewed because Burlington prices are much different than Hamilton, as you probably could guess. So here, looking at the report from Cornerstone, we had 529 sales, which is also up, similar to the broad region numbers. It's up 2.3% from the same time last year. Similar thing is happening in Toronto. So this seems to be a common thing across the GTA. What it means long term, again, we'll have to wait and see. But the fact that sales are now inching up could be an indicator that we've, like I said, potentially reached some sort of bottom. July is traditionally a slow month. As always, it's the middle of summer. People are busy. They're at the cottage. They're not thinking about real estate, especially this year, right? So number of new listings in July were 1,257. That's up less than 1%. So not that crazy. Again, people aren't thinking about real estate in July. So the number of new listings hasn't gone that up. But what has gone up is the total inventory, because a lot of these homes are not selling. We're having fewer sales. So the total inventory is 2,506. That is up over 25%. So yeah, big jump there, but no surprise, as that's what we've been seeing month over month. Months of supply, which basically means it's the amount of time that it would take for all the homes to sell if no other homes came on the market. That's almost at 5 months, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. It means we're basically in a buyer's market. That's up 22.5% here. Average days on market, again, almost 40, similar to the broader region. That's up 35, almost 36%. And you have an average price of $767,654. So almost $770,000. As always, I preface that, or not preface, but say it afterwards. For first-time home buyers, don't let that number scare you. I meet a lot of people that are looking in that $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 range. Those houses are out there, especially in this market, even more than ever. That average price includes areas like Stony Creek, Ancaster, Dundas, Binbrook, all these surrounding areas that bring the average up. So there are entry-level homes in that $400,000 or $500,000-$600,000 range. So just something to keep in mind. Let's keep it moving here. Again, we are in a buyer's market, right? Regardless of the numbers, on the ground, we are definitely in a buyer's market. Buyers can buy. They have all the leverage right now. Sellers are not in a position to be asking for much. That being said, there's still not a lot of sales happening, meaning not a lot of buyers are taking action. And this is not to be the realtor. It's always a good time to buy, but if you're a buyer who is ready, who is financially ready and willing to, has the capability to do it, and you have been sitting on the fence, I would start dipping your toe in the water. I would get out there and see what's going on, because there's a lot of opportunity. But that's neither here nor there. So buyer's market signals we have here: increased inventory, like we discussed, up over 25%. We have motivated sellers with their houses that have been sitting on the market for 38 plus days. Price corrections are happening. We're seeing a lot of price corrections. We're seeing a lot of houses get priced at maybe what the seller wants, then come down to a bit of a lower price, hoping to spur some interest, and then maybe push that price up to maybe where they wanted it originally. Works sometimes, doesn't work for others. But I will say, well-renovated homes that are priced correctly are selling no matter what. That's the key in this market. And like I said here, we're cautious but active buyers. Buyers are being deliberate on purpose, allowing for room to negotiate on price, conditions, and timelines, because price is not always the only factor. Remember that. So what does this mean for buyers right now? Well, you have time to focus and find the right deal. You can investigate seller motivation, sometimes easier than others. But if it's been sitting on the market a long time, if there hasn't been any price reductions, maybe they don't want to sell, and maybe you're not going to have a lot of luck with that one. But if you've seen a lot of price changes, that can indicate, a motivated seller and potential to negotiate a good deal there for you. You got to factor in mortgage rates, right? Right now, look, a 3-year fixed is as low as 3.94%. Getting a 4% interest rate, sub 4% interest rate, may not be around forever. The Bank of Canada has held interest rates for the last 3 times. We may see a cut this year, but again, that's only for your variable rate mortgages. Fixed rates have been actually trending upwards. So if you can lock in a 4% interest rate right now in August, and have a rate hold for 3 or 6 months or whatever you can get, you can take your time and then still be happy you got a 4% rate later on, maybe if you don't buy till the fall, till even November, December, and you'll have that rate locked in, because those could go up. We've been seeing them kind of trend upwards, as I've said. So let's keep it moving here. What does it mean for sellers? So sellers, again, I've said this multiple times, but you gotta price realistically. You got to work with an agent who understands what's happening in this market. You need to not chase the market down. That's the worst thing you can do right now. Sellers who are just stuck to this price, thinking that their home, because I get it, it's an emotional journey. You have an emotional attachment to your house. You can get stuck at wanting this price, and then a few months on the market may, snap you into reality, and then you want to lower the price to what maybe the agent suggested originally. But now the prices have come down, because that's the way it's been going. And so then you end up chasing that market down. Really, it's the final say is up to the seller for sure, but work with a good agent, take their guidance for what it's worth, and price accordingly if you actually want to sell. And if you need to sell, then you double down on that. The first 7 to 14 days are a critical window. If we're not seeing the showings, we're not seeing any offers come in, then there's something there that needs to be readjusted, and it's probably the price, right? If it really depends on your property. As I said, there's a number of factors, but that first 7 to 14 days is a critical time to kind of see what's happening. And a lot of times what we'll do is if a seller really is stuck on their price, we'll say, okay, fine, let's list at that price, but I need you to agree that if we're not seeing any action within that 7 to 14 day window, that we reconsider and price at the number that was suggested. So that's what's happening a lot in this agent. Presentation is huge. As much as price is huge, presenting the property correctly is massive, right? You want to have the proper pictures. You want to have it, some staging if possible. I did a video recently on, people with crazy colors in their house. Painting is one of the easiest and simplest and cheapest things you can do to try and get your house sold in this market. If you have crazy colors throughout your house, even though it's a simple fix for a buyer, a lot of people have a hard time just looking past that. And maybe they don't want to have to go in and paint the whole place. So, there's a lot of different things to present and package the property to show in its best light for buyers. And, work with a data-driven agent, right? Like I've mentioned this, work with an agent who knows what's going on in this market, can see what's coming down the pipeline, right? Not just like we use comparables. That's how we price properties often, but you can't use a 3 months ago price moving forward in the next month. Those are not going to be comparable in a market that's trending downwards. So just a word of advice there. Let's take a look at the neighborhoods that are most active here. And as it is generally the case, Hamilton Mountain by far. Look at that compared to the rest. Hamilton Mountain continues to lead the market in activity. While core zones like Hamilton Center and East remain active as well. Hamilton Mountain, Stony Creek, Hamilton Center are the most active. You have Ancaster with moderate activity, and the least activity is happening in Flamborough, Glanbrook, and Waterdown, which makes sense. Less density there, higher prices in some of those areas. So look at that, 149 sales in the month of July. So yeah, that's the spot, right? Like I spend a bulk of my time on Hamilton Mountain. So great area. Let's take a look quickly at the benchmark prices for different types of homes. And the benchmark basically represents the price of the most common home within that sector. So detached homes, you're looking at a benchmark price of $782,000, which is actually down 7%. So there's a downward trend in prices. Prices have definitely started to come down a little bit. And like I said, that's beneficial for buyers right now. Semi-detached, you're looking at a benchmark of just over 700,000, down 4%. Row houses, townhouses, just over 600,000. So great entry level prices there for buyers. And then apartments just over 17,000, which is down 11%. So not a ton of activity happening in the condo world, as especially in Toronto, but also here in Hamilton as well. So what is driving the market these days? Bank of Canada, like I said, they've held the rates now for 3 consecutive announcements. That may change. We may see a small, 25 basis point or 50 basis point cut before the end of the year, as I think there's 3 more announcements before the end of the year. Inflation has been tapering off, but we're not out of the woods there yet. You have headlines, which I know I always say to not take that into consideration, but I know it affects people, right? We're all reading it. We're all human. We react to that stuff. So life changes continue to drive serious buyers. So no matter how few sales the headlines say there is, people are still moving. People still get married. People still get divorced. People still go to school, get jobs, all that stuff. So real estate is still going to sell no matter what. People got to do what they got to do. And, there's obviously still the uncertainty around the ongoing trade war, and whether or not we'll see an end to that anytime soon. I think we're starting to just adjust to that kind of being a thing, right? That we can't all live in fear and freeze forever. So my take on things is that the market is, slowly shifting, but it's not collapsing. I know a lot of people like to claim, my comments on my TikToks are all about how, and my YouTube, about how the market has so much more to come down and to crash and to prices are going to, you know what? I just don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think that the Bank of Canada and the government is going to ever let that happen. I think they're going to continue to prop it up. We've seen a price correction. We've seen a price crash, quote unquote, from the tops in 2022. And I think at some point in the near future, we're going to see a bottom and we're going to see things start to reverse and head back up a little bit. I think in 10 years, you're going to see prices quite a bit higher than they are now. Maybe not the same drastic increases that we saw over the last number of years. I think that is probably over for a while, but I think owning real estate is still going to be beneficial for people in the coming future. So that's my take. Smart buyers are moving quietly while others wait. I agree with that completely. That's people, like I said, the buyers who are ready and willing to get out there and take advantage of not take advantage of sellers, but take advantage of a market that may, benefit them in the outcome. They're benefiting from that right now. So strategic sellers are getting results. I mentioned this as well. If you have a house that, is in that category where the average buyer would want, it's presented well, it's staged well, it's priced correctly, you're going to have luck. You're not even lucky. You're just going to have results. Emotion drives hesitation. Data drives action. I try to provide as much data as possible. This, like I said, can be an emotional experience, but if you balance that out with data, you will have success. And it comes down to working with the right agent. I have a fantastic team that I work with, tons of experience based on data. And so, if we can be of any assistance in the future, myself personally, feel free to reach out, book a call below, or simply shoot me a text and we'll have that chat. And until then, I'll see you on the next one.